Hi, this is Adventure Alan here, and today I'm excited to talk to you about our review of the Hammock Gear Economy Burrow Quilt. And at just 22 ounces and $180, it is by a huge margin the best value on the market to sleep in the backcountry. Nothing else even comes close. But before I dive into the details of why that's so, I'd like to just talk to you about dispelling a few myths about quilt camping. And the first myth is that quilts are colder than sleeping bags. And in fact, the opposite is true. For the same weight and lower cost, a quilt is actually warmer than a sleeping bag. Albeit it does take a little bit of skill to use the quilt to keep it over you, but you do that every night, keeping the blankets over you on your bed. It's just not that hard. I mean, there isn't anything else on the backcountry sleeping market that comes close to the value of this Hammock Gear Econ quilt. It blows conventional sleeping bags out of the water, whether they're down or synthetic, and even compared to other quilt manufacturers, the Econ Burrow is by far the best value on the market. It's within a few ounces of weight, and it's $100 to $150 less than even the best backpacking or camping quilts. And compared to like the premium sleeping bags, like the Western Mountaineering bags they're costing $400. And they're heavier, not quite as warm, and just not even there. So if money were an object, this would be the bag I would go to every time. And to give you a little background, I've been sleeping in the backcountry under quilts for 20 years, long before they were popular or even a thing that people knew about. And I've done winter backcountry ski trips into the Beartooth Mountains of Montana using a quilt. Recently, Allison and I were out on the southern Patagonian ice shelf in a two-person quilt, not too dissimilar than this quilt, another Hammock Gear quilt. And we were literally sleeping on the ice shelf and we were fine. So quilts are great. They will keep you warm. And the other thing, as I mentioned, I was guiding in West Virginia last week, and I got my best sleep score. I've been tracking my sleep score on Fitbit for 2 years. I got my best sleep score ever in a quilt. So if there was something wrong with quilts and quilts were cold, then I wouldn't be sleeping as well in a quilt or better than I do in my custom latex mattress at home. So hopefully that lays to rest some myths about sleeping in a quilt. Okay, so what is a backpacking quilt? Let's talk about it and look at some of the features on this Hammock Gear Economy Burrow backpacking, or some people call them camping quilts. So first of all, as you can see here, there is no down on the bottom of this quilt. So what a quilt does is it puts down where you need it, and it doesn't have down where you don't need it. In the quilt, there's no down underneath you, because the down underneath you isn't doing you any good. As soon as you lie on the down and compress it, it no longer has any insulating value. So all you're adding is weight and cost. And when you're talking about 800 foot power down, that's a fair amount of cost. So there's where you get a lot of your weight savings and economy on the quilt. What's actually keeping you warm on the ground is not your quilt, but the sleeping pad, which is why Allison and I use these women's Neo Air sleeping pads, which were an R5.4. It's an exceptionally warm pad because we know that's where our warmth is coming from, not the down on the bottom of your sleeping bag. They do have modern quilts have a very nice foot box to tuck your feet into. You can see it's super plump with tons of insulation, so there's no cold feet issues. And again, I'm going to lie down in this quilt and walk you through a couple other things that are great about modern quilts. First of all, they work in a broader temperature range because If it's warm, kind of like in your bed at home, if it's really warm, I might tuck my feet in here. But, I might throw an arm out or something, or, if it's warm, I might push it down around my waist, a huge amount of flexibility. But as it gets colder, I can just pull it up over my chin, and then maybe if it's a little colder during the night, I'll tuck my arms in, and maybe if it's super cold, I'll do this neck snap. Super easy to do. And then you just put it on kind of like putting on a t-shirt. Put it on over like that. Lay down, get your head on the pillow, and it's even got this little nice cinch up here. I'm probably going to mess up my lav mic doing this, but it's got this nice cinch, and I can just cinch it up around my neck. And you can see I'm as snug as a bug in a rug. I'm not drafting out. I'm super comfortable. And so a huge amount of flexibility from warm to cold that Mummy Bag has. And I'm not super confined. I've got room to move around in. I can sleep on my side. And again, you can see I just rolled over on my side. I didn't gap out. There's no drafts or anything. Quilt's nicely in position. Not that hard to do. So the other thing about a quilt you can obviously see is that I have a hat on, but most people have a warm hat in camp. So I don't find the lack of a hood any issue. Again, I've used this winter skiing, and I've used it on Southern Patagonian ice shelf, and wearing a warm hat. Sometimes Alice and I even have like a little down beanie that we put on. I've got one in I've got one in the backpack right here. So got a nice little down beanie that's great to use with the quilt. It's like an ounce. Put it on, super warm on your head. And you can see how easy I can get my arms in and out to do things in the quilt, and then I can tuck right back in. So again, that's sort of the basic features of a quilt and sort of how it's different from a sleeping bag. Oh, and by the way, before I forget to do this, because I always forget to do this in videos, if you're thinking about buying the Hammock Gear Burrow Quilt, we'd greatly appreciate it if you supported our site by clicking on the link in the comment section of this video. We will get a small percentage of that sale, which helps us support the site and keep this great content coming out. There is also a written companion review of the Hammock Gear Burrow Quilt, and some people consume content better written, and you probably didn't remember everything I said or are not going to remember everything I said in this video, so that's an easy reference to go by and pick up all the facts. So go ahead and look in the comment section. There will be a link to our written review. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk something about the key features of the Hammock Gear Burrow Quilt. This is a plus 30 quilt. Again, I said it's 22 ounces and $180. You do get the option of having this sewn foot box on this. They also make another one which has a zippered foot box. There's a zipper here, and you can actually unfold it out and actually use the thing as a blanket. So some people like that option. It does add a little cost to the sewn foot box, but I find it's a little warmer, but you do get the flexibility with the zippered one. But Hammock Gear makes two versions of this quilt. They make the Econ at $180, and then they make a more expensive, or their premium burrow, and the difference is about 1.5 ounces of weight. And where that 1.5 ounces of weight comes from is mostly in this shell fabric. They use a slightly thicker but stronger, more durable 20 denier shell fabric versus a lighter fabric on the premium burrow. And then they use an 800 fill power down instead of the 850 on the burrow. And those two things add up to about an ounce or two of additional weight. Those two small changes and the increase in weight save you almost $100. So you go from like $180 to $280 the premium burrow. This is why this is the Econ Burrow is such a great deal. It comes in all sorts of sizes and colors, and insulation values, so you can get a plus 40, plus 30, plus 20, plus 10. Temperature rating one, you can get a different color. You can see mine is orange on the outside and tan on the inside, but you could get it blue. There's all sorts of different colors. It comes in a regular width. For ground sleeping, we like the wide width. This is a wide, and it also comes in short, medium, and long. The only slight downside is because it's custom made for you, there is a bit of delay in getting it. Depends on the time of year, but it's going to be weeks, a week, at least a week or two until you get the quilt. And the one thing I should mention is that obviously I'm sleeping on the ground here like a conventional camper would. This could be inside a tent, or it could be out underneath the stars, which I prefer unless it's raining. But these work great for ground sleeping. Ground sleepers usually get the wider quilt for a little extra coverage. If you're getting it for hammock, you usually get the standard width. And I think the standard width is 50 inches and the ground sleeping is 55. But somewhere around 55 inches is plenty of drape over your ground pad to keep anything from drafting out. For super restless people, or if you feel challenged with turning over and not keeping the quilt over you, there is these attachment loops on the sides that you see here. There's a ground attachment system that attaches to your sleeping pad, and it sort of keeps this quilt in place. So even if you turn over in your sleep, it stays put. I don't find that. Alice and I find we don't need that. We can use these quilts fine and keep the quilt over us like a blanket in bed. Okay, so I've been like all rosy, like everything's great about this quilt. I mean, there are a few downsides, and I've kind of mentioned them, but one is, if for some reason you're a very restless sleeper, you're completely unaware of what you're doing sleeping, and maybe you have trouble keeping the blankets on you on your bed at home, this might not be the system for you. You could try it with the ground pad attachment system, that might work. And the other con is that there is a wait time, so if you're into instant gratification, or you need to buy this from you buy your stuff from a major retailer like REI, this may not be the quilt for you, because you're going to be buying it from Hammock Gear. I mean, they have an impeccable reputation, but there is going to be a delay on buying the quilt. Okay, so let's do some compared tos. First of all, it blows sleeping bags away. I mean, they can't even come close. As an example, the Western Mountaineering Mega Light 30 or the Summer Light 32, both of these are not as warm, they're heavier, and they cost twice as much. Again, this is like $180 to $195 depending on the type of footbox you get. And those Western Mountaineering bags that I mentioned are over $400. I don't know about you, but I don't have an extra $200 to give away where I'm getting almost nothing in return. And actually, this Econ quilt costs less than most synthetic sleeping bags, and it weighs half as much. So again, in terms of conventional sleeping bags, like no freaking contest at all. This is the best value on the market. Okay, so let's talk in comparison to other quilt manufacturers. And again, these are going to be mostly cottage manufacturers. Compared to the Hammock Gear, same manufacturer, but the premium burrow, as we mentioned, it's about 2 ounces heavier, but it costs $90 less. So significant savings in cost for a very slight weight penalty. Compared to Enlighten Equipment, another very well-known and respected quilt manufacturer, their equipment Enigma 30, it's 4 ounces heavier, so the Enigma 30 is significantly lighter, but the Enigma costs $100 more. So again, in terms of value, the Econ is way ahead. Finally, compared to top-end manufacturer, which is the Katabatic Gear Palisade 30 quilt, again, it's 3.6 ounce heavier. The Econ is 3.6 ounces heavier, but the cost is significantly more. The Katabatic Gear Palisade costs $150 more, so almost double the price of this quilt. Oh, and just in case you think we're just sort of making this stuff up, like this is warmer than that or this is lighter than that, we do have the backup data for that. Be sure to check out the video version and the written version of our top-ranked best backpacking sleeping bags and camping quilts. And these have the data tables to show what are the best and warmest sleeping bags and backpacking quilts on the market. These tables have the hard data to support our claims in this review. You can find the links to these in the description section below this video, so go ahead and check it out. So hopefully you found this review helpful. Again, this is the Hammock Gear Burrow Econ 30 backpacking quilt, camping quilt, hammock quilt. If you found this review useful, please go ahead and like this video. Please go ahead and follow the Adventure Allen channel. Click that bell so you get notified of all our great new content. We're pushing out a bunch of content this fall, so stay tuned for that. And until then, this is Adventure Allen signing out.